Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam. Hey, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Um, and up front, one of the big things I want to say immediately is no, I did not beat the game. But not only that, I'll go a step further and say that I didn't how do I put this? I didn't I didn't like finish everything I could do either. That's maybe how I would say it. I mean, it's not quite the same level of here's why I stopped playing because I could see myself playing more of this. I just don't know that I'd ever be able to beat it if I did. Because everyone says the impossible layer thing is too the end level of the game is too hard. Or it's like significantly harder than the rest of the game, and I was already struggling a bit with some parts of this. So I have my doubts that I'd actually be able to actually totally beat it. But I still feel like I played a good amount. I mean, like this many hours, I have this many things, so you can see this is what I have to work with here. And I feel like I still had enough to say about this, especially since it is kind of like a follow up. It is the next Yooka-Laylee game after the original Yooka-Laylee, which I have played. So I thought it might be interesting to do that. And after replaying Yooka-Laylee, I was like, I'm going to try this game out, and I got it, and here we are. Also, there's a written review. I'll link that in the description. But I think that's all the preamble stuff, and we're gonna try once again the whole me putting this stuff on the screen over here, and we'll see if that works okay. I know sometimes it covers me up and it's not perfectly aligned because it's slanted and stuff, but whatever. It's not a big deal. Let me know if you like that or if you prefer it to be full screen again, just be easier to see things. Because I mean, you don't necessarily have to see me sitting here doing this gesture for 20 minutes every time. I understand. So yeah, but let's get into Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. So, if you're looking at Yooka-Laylee, the first game, like a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, you could kind of look at this as a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country. It's a side scroller. It's 2.5D in the way that environments and things, whatever. The visuals are 3D, but the gameplay is 2D, like left and right side scrolling kind of stuff. So, some of that's going to be pretty basic stuff going through these levels, kind of like Donkey Kong Country in a lot of ways. Here, when you're going through levels, you actually have two main collectibles in these levels. When you're going through, you can collect quills. And there's a lot of different ways to get those. There's strewn about here and there. There's some hidden. There's some groupings of them. There's some things you got to attack, like things you got to attack it multiple times, or quill things you got to chase that'll spin them out. There's some that will put out a few quills for you to gather, and you grab all of them in the sequence, and they'll give you more for a reward. Little things like that just give you little as a breadcrumb reward kind of thing you get along the way. And also there are these twit coins is what they're called. There's 5 coins in every level, and they're sequential, so you'll be able to tell. And there's like a one numbered 1 through 5, so you'll be able to tell if you've missed one earlier or whatever in the level. And then at the end of the level, you'll get the main collectible thing are these bees. They're part of the bee battalion. I guess I should maybe say some of the story of this. The plot is very whatever because it's just here to service the gameplay, but essentially it's a thing of like, Capital B from the first game is back and he's taking over this royal stingdom, and got a wand that's taking over things and whatever, and then he's hiding away, he's trying to take over everything, and some weird plot to take over I don't know if it's the world or just the stingdom or both, I don't know, and it's up to you to save them, as the queen bee wants you to do that with a bunch of weird bee pun wordplay things in the beginning. So it's really just there to service you getting to the levels and then playing the game. Now, between levels there is an overworld, but it's more than just a level select thing here. So the overworld in this game is this top-down thing. You can run around in here, and you have some abilities to do stuff here, like you can still do things like, you can kind of like attack and jump, and grab things with your tongue. So you can still do these things in the overworld and whatever. And this is where you're going to find these different levels that are represented by these different books. And actually every level has two versions. There's the way to switch between the two versions of them, and usually to switch between them, you have to do some kind of environmental like puzzle or task or something in order to unlock the other version of them, and then switch between them. And each version of this has their own, like they're the same level, but they have some differences. So some areas you can only access in certain versions of the level, and each version has its own 5 coins to get. Now, so like the coins are used to buy these paywalls to open up more parts of the overworld, to find more levels and more things for you to do. There's also a lot of tonics in this game that are that come back from the first game. There's tonics, but there's a lot more of them here. A lot of them you have to find, mostly throughout little secrets and things. There are little signs you can pay off with quills on the overworld that will tell you hints as to where to ground pound to find these things. But some are just accessed by reaching certain areas. There are also pages in the overworld that basically every time you talk to a pagey, they'll give you a challenge. Usually it's some kind of challenge to defeat so many enemies, a really small contained challenge, and if you beat it, then they will do something that alters the world and gives you more access to something else, whether that's a new area or like gives you access to a tonic or some kind of thing will open up to you another world or something. It gives you access to more stuff. So those are also scattered about. And then the quills can also be spent on the tonics after you find them. You have to buy them to unlock them. You can hold up to 3 tonics at a time. Some tonics are beneficial. They'll make things easier for you. Some of them are actually a detriment. They'll make things harder. The ones that make things easier actually will decrease your multiplier, and the ones that make things harder will increase your multiplier for the number of quills you're getting per level. So, you can make it harder on yourself to try and get more quills faster and do things. Because there's also little parts in the overworld where you have to buy open, like a lot of cages you have to buy open. They usually cost a significant amount of quills as well. So there's that. There's also some tonics that are just kind of like mostly cosmetic changes or like sound things or something. Just like things that don't really change, they don't really benefit you, or they're not a benefit or a detriment. Those you still have to buy those to unlock those, but they don't change your multiplier for the quills you're getting anyways. There's also a bunch of achievements you can get. You have a little screen to track all the different achievements for you to unlock as well. Weirdly, I think one of them is an achievement that is connected to both Yooka-Laylee games together, which is also strange. So it tracks it in-game. So this is a multi-platform game. So depending on what platform you have, you might be getting achievements or trophies, but no matter what you play, you'll get the little in-game unlock things there. So you'll always have those to track as you go through. That's really is most of the gameplay loop. You have your basic things of you can you can run just by moving. You can duck. You can jump. You can do a standing attack, or if you're moving, you'll do a roll attack. If you tap twice, you can do an even faster rolling attack. You can jump mid-rolling attack. There's that technique you'll have to do a lot. There's a ground pound you can do. If you get hit, Lilly flies around. You can have a chance to grab Lilly back, and so you can take another hit again. If not, then Lilly flies off. You have to find one of these little Lilly bells out in the, overworld. You grab that, and then Lilly's back. Also, checkpoints around there, so if you die, you'll go back to your checkpoint after redo the stuff you did before you got the checkpoint. And then, like I said, at the end, you get these things that one of these bees at the end of these levels, and they're from something called the Bee-tallion. And essentially, the way this works is that pretty much all of this game is kind of optional in a way, because the main goal is to try and beat Capital B, who's hiding out at the end of the Impossible Lair, a huge gauntlet of a level. That it's just a whole bunch of stuff, no checkpoints. You have to do the whole thing in one go. And for every bee that you capture, you get 1 extra hit point to get through there. So you end up going through the whole thing. The idea is you try to get through all that and then beat Capital B at the end of that. I guess I don't know if there was actually a boss fight at the end or not. That I can't tell you either, because I haven't been there. Somewhere I haven't been. But, yeah, it's not... That's the idea, is that essentially you don't have to do all this other stuff, but you can, and it's only going to make that easier. Plus, it's going to kind of train you to do the things you might have to do once you get into the big gauntlet of a level to do that as well. So that's kind of the thing. Basically, that's it. It's just kind of, that's the gameplay loop, is getting in the levels, getting the quills and tonics, and doing the, finding the secrets, and getting bees, help you for that level later, unlocking paywalls, unlock more levels, unlock more stuff. do more things, to have more things, to make it easier at the end. And I will say that I like a lot of this stuff here. I think this is really cool because, like, it's just the way they've kind of woven all these things into each other. I feel like when I'm playing Donkey Kong Country or something, right? I'm like, oh, who gives a shit about all these bananas? I go, 1-up, great. But, like, here, there's not anything with lives. There's no lives to speak of. So if you die, you can restart as many times as you want, which is great. You're going to do that anyway. It's just saving you time from going back to, like, here's a game over screen and going back to a thing and whatever. I think that's probably something I prefer that way. And also the quills then are being used for, like, getting hints for things. They're being used for unlocking useful tonics. They can make it easier to do other stuff later. I think that having stuff that challenges you, making it so you get more quills is a cool, like, way to make you want to do that. And also, like, you might end up having to farm quills, I guess, later on if you really need to get some extra stuff here and you're having trouble making actual progress. But I think it's a pretty good system for that. And also collecting the coins in there, again, it's kind of like the Kong letters, but instead of getting, like, an extra life or something, whatever, like, getting those coins is actually important for unlocking more of the main world so you can go and do other stuff. And I think even that, like, they had this really cool thing built into it where it's like, hey, none of this stuff is actually required. If you can't beat a level, or you can't, like, you know, certain levels you just can't beat, you can't get enough coins to get to the next paywall or something, you can't progress any further for whatever reason, you're not totally locked out of the rest of the game because, I mean, like, you can't see a lot of those areas, but you can still try to do the final boss and beat the game. You can really do that at any point. And that's not something you get to see a lot in these types of games. So I do think a lot of stuff is really cool. Also, I want to say that comparatively to the previous game and stuff, like, I mean, like, the music, the music is very good. There's, like, it seems like there's a lot of it so far, and it's all very good. It's very catchy. I think they did a good job with the music, and also visually it's very colorful and bright. And I think having this be a 2D game as far as gameplay actually helped them a lot here, because it also allowed them to polish it a lot more than the first game is what I'm getting at with that. I think there's you don't have the same kind of, like, frame rate issues or, like, weirdness, I mean, in the controls and stuff, whatever. Like, a lot of this seems like it's a lot more polished, and, like, they had more of a grasp on how to make a game like this. And I don't know if that's just having more time to work on it for doing this kind of thing, or if it's just simpler to do this kind of a game. Some combination of both. I don't know. But I think that definitely came off a lot better than the previous game. That being said, I do still, I mean, like, the reason I stopped is because it can get pretty difficult, and not always for fun reasons. Basically, like, there's definitely, like, some points where I feel like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I just wasn't doing it as specifically as the game wanted me to do it. Like, no, I have to do this. I have to do this roll jump thing here, but I have to be frame perfect on my timing. I have to be pixel perfect on my positioning. I can't just, like, do it and have it flow normally and naturally. There's, like, no, like, wiggle room for error for some of these things. And if it's that bad in, like, a standard level, again, the final level being even harder is going to be, like, it's going to be a nightmare if they're going to demand even more of me to do when I'm already not good at doing this little bit that they want me to do. Like, that's, like, frustrating. Or, like, going through and it's like, you know, if I want to check out all these levels and stuff, it's like, well, I have to get all these coins, so, like, I'm missing coins. And it's like, well, I don't like when a level forces me forward to move quickly when I should be taking my time to find these coins. Like, you can't, like, hide stuff on me, but also expect me to explore while you're pushing me forward with level elements that will kill me for moving forward, you know? Like, that stuff is, like, frustrating. Again, I do like the kind of Donkey Kong style, like, thing of, like, if your level is supposed to be, like, you moving forward, then the level will put something in there to move you forward rather than a time limit. That's something I like. I think that's good, and I'm glad they brought that back over here, but a lot of this just ends up being frustrating. And I'm not having fun when I'm doing a lot of this. And I'll admit that some of this is probably my mood. I was not really in the mood to play this style of a game, this genre of a game right now. And I just did it because it was the next Yooka-Laylee game, which is also kind of part of the problem. I guess it's technically supposed to be like a spin-off. So it's not supposed to be like the sequel in that sense. But like when you go from the first game to this game, having it be Yooka-Laylee is only really good in the sense that they get to keep using their character. It just feels like they haven't established enough yet, so it's like, is Yooka-Laylee going to be a series of 3D platformers, or is it going to be more like the 2D platformer thing, or is it going to be everything? Are we going to get a Yooka-Laylee cart? I don't know, because they don't really say anything, because we're just kind of up in the air, because this is like the second game we've seen from the series, and of course the next thing that's going to be coming out is a remake of the first game, so we still don't really know what they want to do for sure moving forward with the series, and I think that's something that's kind of bothersome to me here as well. As like, I don't know, there's good and bad to each of these things, but like I really didn't, going from one to the other, like, I don't know, it is a little bit of whiplash of like, oh yeah, Banjo-Tooie, let's go to Nuts and Bolts next. And it's like, that's a totally different kind of game. Why is that counting as Banjo 3? It does give you some vibes of that, of like, maybe not the best move, but at least not as bad as that, in a sense, because they're also not trying to act like this is the second game, I don't think. But we'll see when they decide if it's going to be like the spin-off and the main things are going to be a certain way, or if they're just going to do whatever and keep it moving that way. Time will tell on that, I guess. I wasn't in the mood for this right after that. And also, one last bit on that is to say the biggest thing there, I think, too, above all these other things, is that this, well, here's the thing. People weren't making Banjo-Kazooie type games anymore, right? That's the thing. They just weren't making games like that, and people wanted that. So when they made this, I was like, well, yeah, of course. Like, I was looking at my screen now. Is my light, has that been on my screen or something? No, I don't know what I'm looking at on my screen. It's like a big yellow, like, oh, because I'm talking, and when I'm looking at not talking, the word bubble's on my screen. You can't even see that because I don't have that up yet. The other thing is that Donkey Kong Country is a thing that, like, yeah, is still being made. Like, Banjo-Kazooie is not being made still, but like, Donkey Kong Country has Donkey Kong Country Returns. There's 2 different games in that. And I realize it's been a while since I've had another one of those. Fair enough. But, like, it hadn't been, like, that long when this came out. And, like, I mean, I guess, like, it just didn't need to exist because we already had other games that were like that, and games similar to it were still being made. You're kind of, like, making a spiritual successor to something that already has an actual successor. It exists pretty contemporarily with yourself. I don't know that there's much need for that, is what I'm saying. All that being said, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair probably is pretty good for someone who has played Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze and is looking for more in that kind of style, especially since this does do a few things that are kind of unique and interesting. I think the way they use quills, the way they use the overworld, the way they use the coins, the way everything kind of feels like it matters, and also, like, the idea that, like, the better you are, the less of this you have to do. You can really challenge yourself to get through that whole gauntlet with nothing or less or whatever as far as you go. I think that's all really good. I think they implemented things really well. It plays well. It has great music. It looks really nice. I think they really nailed doing this thing right. So I understand the praise for this game. It's just that, I mean, if you want that kind of game, yes, do that. I think that it's probably for you. If it looks fun, like, yeah, you probably have a good time. It's not really for me because I suck at games and I wanted to play another 3D platformer right now. So, like, it's possible at some time in the future maybe I'll feel the need to actually play through this entirely. And even then, I'll probably still just get stuck at the final level anyways, because, again, if I'm struggling on stuff that's, like, the normal levels and the last level is way harder, I'm just not going to have a chance. I'm just not that good. I have a skill ceiling. It's very low, which is usually fine because I'm pretty short, so, like, I usually don't have to worry about hitting the skill ceiling. But I don't know how to make that work as a whole bit. What I'm saying is I'm bad at games, and I probably won't be able to ever beat it, just like I probably won't ever beat something like Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden. It's just probably not in the cards for me, and that's okay, because I don't have to beat every game that I play. I don't have to, do everything in order to talk about a game, at least. So, I'm not saying that I'm totally giving up on this game, it's just that I'm not really going to be doing anything with this right now, or the foreseeable future. For the foreseeable future. Very good at talking, too. I'm almost as good at video games as I am at speaking. Especially fast. But yeah, I'd like to know in the comments if you're watching this here and you're the kind of person who will comment. I would like to know what you think of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, especially as like a follow-up to the previous game, and also in comparison to things like Donkey Kong Country Classic and Returns. I think that would be good to kind of like just gauge people's opinions on that, because I assume you probably have played these things around there. And for the next Yooka-Laylee game, would you prefer to have another 3D platformer thing like the first game, or would you want another Impossible Lair type of game? I mean, they'd probably find some other ways to have different gimmicks and other things in there, but yeah, I mean, what would you like to see? Or should there be something totally different for the next Yooka-Laylee game? Give me your thoughts on that stuff. I think that might be interesting. But hope hopefully this video also was a bit interesting. Again, I'm not like saying this game is bad. I'm mostly saying I'm bad at it. But it is a very interesting game that I thought at least was worth talking about because of what it does and its context and whatever. And hopefully I didn't manage to make something that is interesting into something totally boring because of how I speak and sound and look. I was on the screen the whole time, wasn't I? Look. So the next review is probably, unless I finish something else between these and post it, probably going to be looking at Yooka-Laylee. So stay tuned for that, or watch the Yooka-Laylee review to get prepped for that. And then come back, but keep it tuned here. It's all on the same channel, so you can stay tuned while you can do both things, and you'll still be totally tuned to see that. So totally tuned. Hashtag totally tuned. Don't use it in the comments. Don't do that, because I won't remember. I'll be like, what the fuck is this about? But do not sponsored, but Mountain Dew, if you want to sponsor me for no reason, I will accept my payment in more Mountain Dew.